Welcome to the roller coaster of midlife. I'm your host, Lucy Q. Now, have you ever wondered how our thoughts take shape or how our relationship with the mind truly shapes our experiences? Joining me today is Ambika Devi, an internationally acclaimed best-selling author of not one, not two, but 6 books. She's also an astrologer and a creative powerhouse who, in her 60s, is more active and inspiring than many half her age. Now, there's one thing that Ambika is truly passionate about. It's guiding people toward understanding their true essence. She encourages us to step back, take a breath, and disentangle ourselves from the relentless whirlpool of our thoughts that often consume us. Welcome, Ambika.
Oh, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Lucy. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you to everyone who's listening in today.
Now, before we got started, I did have to practice saying your name a few times. And you mentioned that is the name of the goddess. Can you just tell me a little bit about the goddess?
Absolutely. In the Far Eastern traditions, there are gods and goddesses, which are truly two halves of the same thing. And it is a misconception that there are many different beings. I like to explain it in this way, that there really is, like in all religious belief systems, a singular one, omnipresence, what we use the G word God for. And what I love about these Far Eastern traditions is that they first take it and subdivide it into two. So it has a masculine quality and a feminine quality. But then I also like to see it and visualize it as an egg that's kind of like a gemstone cut with many, many facets. And then these different names and forms of gods and goddesses are these different facets on the one egg. So I also love the story, The Egg by Andy Weir, and I read it every January 1st in our Gregorian calendar online and invite people to come and ask questions and talk about it, because it also epitomizes a version of understanding that it's not only these external gods and goddesses that we might project and think about, but it's also us. We are part of that one egg.
We are. I do believe we are all connected. Now, the what you often talk about, this shape of our thought, our relationship with the mind. Can you shed a little bit of light on this concept and explain how understanding how our thoughts form can really influence our daily experiences?
Absolutely. Thought, to me, in the words of Swami Shivananda, is the architect of the mind. And take that in for a moment. Thought is the architect of the mind. So the mind is thought to be external, not in your head, not in your brain, but an external force that is a bundle of thought. And we catch thought flying across what I call the dark screen of the inside of the forehead. You know how you're doing an action and all of a sudden a thought or a memory or an idea pops in and you become aware of it? So that is the awareness of one of those threads of thought from the bundle that is the one mind. So I don't see the mind as being separate, although the ego aspect says my mind, my thought, I like to call that the little I. And then the big I is the witness who is watching. So ask yourself, in the case of there's a cup, right? I'm holding a cup, everybody who's just listening, not watching. And my eyes are looking at the cup. Therefore, the I, EYE, in my head, the eyeballs become the witness. But then if I back up from that, who's really catching that idea? That's maybe the little I, the ego mind saying, well, Ambika Devi, I'm looking through the eyes of Ambika Devi, looking at the cup. But then I can close my eyes and imagine the cup. Who's looking now? I could have a dream about the cup. I could wake up from the dream and awaken in the physical body. Now, who had the memory of the cup? So thought is a form. We could call it a type of communication. And in words, I say cup. Do you see a cup? I say, don't see the cup. You
You
definitely
still
see
see
the
the
cup.
cup.
So thought has shape and form, and different feelings involved with thought then take on color. So we can assign color, and we know this. I don't know if you learned this when you were a little kid, but green is the color of jealousy. You know, we might associate red with hearts and love. We might associate a direction, one of the cardinal directions, like west with love, feelings, letting go, or east with new beginnings, and north with stillness and meditation, and south with that heat and fire and passion. So we can assign all kinds of feelings and emotions to thought, even with a single word. And for me, cup today means nice cup of warm tea.
Okay, so there's a lot in there. And I do have some sort of understanding between sort of our inner self and our outer self and ego and that. But how does that influence our daily actions and how we show up in this world?
We often experience something. It could be an interaction. It could be just awakening from a great night's sleep, or having just had a great meal. And we have feelings, right? Maybe they're good, maybe they're challenging. And then we are reacting. That's us reacting to that sensation. That first reaction is human, and the animals in the world also react. You know, you walk by your friend walking their dog, it starts barking at you, even if that dog knows you. You know, it might freak out because it's protecting the owner. But with us, we have that. Let's just talk about humans. We have that first reaction. That first reaction is for free. Say something happened that hurt your feelings, that upset you. You wanted something, it didn't happen. You said something to a friend, they got angry at you. Then we have that first reaction, but then the mind starts looping and re-reacts and re-reacts and re-reacts. That's what causes pain, or what we perceive as happiness. You know, I got this gift, I really love it. It's great, it's bright, it's shiny. It makes me happy for maybe a couple weeks. I'm feeling this way every time I see it. And then after a while, maybe we stop being interested in it as much. So these are examples of the re-reaction of the initial thought. Does that help?
Yeah, so you mentioned two things there, feeling and then reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So where do our feelings come from? And how do they influence the reaction?
We process things through the 5 bodily senses of sight, sound, taste, touch, and what am I leaving out? Sight, sound, taste, touch,
Hearing.
hearing. Thank you. Hearing. So that's where feelings come from one of those 5 senses. Those are gateways that bring information into the body, because each of them has an organ that's a gateway. For smell, we have a nose. For ears, we have sound. For eyes, if we have them. But then all information does turn to pictures. Words turn to pictures in the mind. And at one point, I did teach children at a school for the blind. So they were sight challenged. And they blew me away at how they could imagine shape and color. And they had associative senses that kicked in, even if they had no sight from birth. They were amazing. They taught me so much about appreciating this, about the senses.
Okay, so then if we have our feelings and we have our reactions, and then do they then lead into building our thoughts?
We create thoughts and we receive thoughts. So I think we need to let go of, uh, do we? What I'd rather say is, do we really create thoughts, or do they already exist?
But what are they
So
based on then?
they are from the bundle of thought, which is the one mind. They already exist. So we could look at it this way, Lucy. We could say everything that's happening already happened and I'm dreaming it. That's how, and I'm acting it out.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, I do understand there's complexities to what we consider reality. But I'm sort of more getting at, when we're talking about when you're stuck in a negative thought patterns or that are
Okay.
not serving to who you are, where, where you let things like limiting beliefs and things like that are going to hold you back. So where are those formed? And then how do we then identify them, acknowledge them, and then move past them?
Where do they come from? Their memories. So if we had something occur in early childhood or throughout the life at any point, that memory could trigger a thought. Maybe they come from another lifetime if you believe in that. Maybe you catch it and download it from the one mind and it wasn't your thought at all. Perhaps you caught it in passing and you weren't really aware of it at the moment, but then it shows up. It could come from the media. It could come from anywhere in your lifestyle, anywhere in your environment. And if everything has memory, then it could come from your food. It could come from water. If we look at Dr. Emoto's work, if you're familiar with his work with water and thought in water, and we are drinking water and we are consuming foods that have water. And if we back up and look at it from a scientific point of view, that there is no new molecule of water, but every water that goes through us ends up back in the environment, rains down, and could potentially end up in us or someone else. So we are all recycled water at all times. Therefore, if water holds thought, therefore, wouldn't water hold all thought or the potential of any thought?
Well, aren't they starting to use a very purified form of water in like microchips?
Truly, we don't know everything about water and science. We still don't understand why water can be solid as an ice, vapor as a mist, or liquid as what we think of water coming out of a tap or what we drink. So we don't understand water. I am not familiar with the microchip pure water. I have a purification system in my house. I purify the water that I bathe in. I purify it more times after that for my drinking water. However, it's still the same molecules of water. There's no
but
new
they're
water.
actually using it as the storage device.
It
That's
is a
what they're
storage
doing. Yeah,
device.
but
It is a store, but that's
that's where our
exactly what I'm
science has gotten
saying.
into. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
because it's in our body. That's what
It is.
it's a knowing I've always had about water, So our star's water, we don't know. We haven't really touched one yet.
So then how do we take that step back and sort of separate ourselves from whatever thoughts are buzzing around inside of us? And in a lot of cases, our thoughts can completely debilitate us. And truly, I mean, all you have to do is look around and see the rise in depression to see how thoughts are consuming people.
I think one of the things that causes issues, this is my opinion, everybody, is giving it a name. In some philosophies, once we name it, it takes power. It holds power and it takes power from us. So if we're naming it, we're claiming it. We need to be careful with that. So then, to go back to your question of the triggering and the thought looping, if you can imagine that you've got loops that are like wheels, think of a bicycle wheel that has many spokes in it. And on each one of those spokes is a different thought that triggers a feeling. Let's go with a challenging or what we would call a negative feeling. So maybe you missed an appointment And so you could say to yourself, it makes me feel really bad about myself when I miss an appointment. And then that triggers another thought, another spoke on that wheel. And when I feel bad about myself, I get depressed. There's another spoke on the wheel. And when I feel depressed, I feel useless. And there's another spoke on the wheel. So do you see how these can trigger? And then they will eventually loop back to that first feeling, and they will continue to loop. Now we can pick up our thought loop on any of those thoughts. Please, let's create some positive thought loops. I feel successful when I show up for a meeting 5 minutes early and I'm ready to go and everything's set. And that makes me feel happy. And when I feel happy, it makes me feel useful. And when I feel useful, and so do you see how I'm creating a positive thought loop? This is more challenging. It takes more muscles to smile. We know this. And I'll tell you, if you're in a really frustrated, angry, or depressive state, if you take your fingers and push the corners of your mouth up and rest your elbows on a surface, like the arm of a chair, a pillow, or a table, you can begin to change things just from the muscle memory. And then laughter yoga. Laughter yoga is just making yourself laugh. If you don't want to just go, ha, 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 and do that kind of laughter, watch a rom-com, or whatever makes you laugh, or a comedian that makes you laugh, or listen to something funny. Hopefully you have a storehouse of these kinds of things that can help you shift the mood. Look, we're all human beings, even the great meditators. The way to back up and look at thought and watch thought is to understand how to be in what is called the witness state. And this is the state of meditation. So it takes practice. It's like flexing a muscle with weights and getting it strong and built up. It's like habit building, like having better choices of what you put in your mouth for food and drink. So it does take work.
It does. And is changing those thought patterns, how does that relate to neuroplasticity?
Neuroplasticity, neurons are in the brain. And we can think of the neural pathways. The neural pathways are like a highway that has off ramps. And the off ramps can take us to any one of the spokes on the thought loop wheel. So we're driving along, and maybe we already picked up one of those spoke thoughts, and it will not leave us alone. It is badgering us. And so maybe we try the smile technique of pushing the lips up into a smile position and getting the muscles involved. Maybe we do an action that helps us, like going for a walk or doing yoga, or maybe we decide to have a warm cup of tea, which is nurturing and healthy, and watch something that makes us laugh. This is a way to create an off-ramp off of that pathway. So we're on a neural pathway, we're in a negative thought, we take an action, we create a new off-ramp from that neural pathway. Now, the more we practice that particular off-ramp routine, action, set. So it could be a single action or a set of actions. I go for a walk, I have some water, I take a shower, maybe it's a set of actions. That creates a new off-ramp, a new neural pathway off-ramp, and eventually we can create that as a stronger neural pathway, and that old one starts to crumble, fade away, and decay, and we are replacing it. But it takes time, patience, and practice. The best way is meditation. But okay, I know it's not the sexiest thing in the world to sit up straight, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. And really, what do I do? Because all these thoughts are flying through my mind. Yes, they do. But what we learn how to do as we build that meditation muscle so that we become a stronger witness, and then we learn the key idea, which is, I am not this body. I am not these senses. I am not this mind, which is a bundle of thought. I am in the big I, not the little one, not the ego I, but I am the witness of this body and mind.
I've been meditating for about 5 years now on a regular basis. And yeah, it does take practice and your mind does wander, but there's this really cool point that you get to when you're, for at least for what I experience. And that's when you're not, all I can say is you're not your body.
Exactly.
The sensation, sometimes it only lasts for, a few seconds.
Hmm.
Sometimes it lasts longer.
Hmm.
But once you can get to that point where you realize that your body is there, but you're not in your body, you're not your body. Yeah, that's it, but it takes time. It takes time to get to that
It
point.
takes practice,
But
just
it's like
like
everything. It's like I'm not going to go out and start running a marathon tomorrow when I haven't walked to the end of my block in 2 years. So everything takes practice. And it is challenging because our minds are busy.
so when we're using the physical body as an example, it's because we have to build up the pathways. We have to build the muscles. We have to get the nerves to fire and react. I want to go for a walk. And maybe you've done 200 steps, but maybe now you want to try for a quarter mile. Well, you do 200 steps and then maybe you pause and then you do another 200 steps and then you pause and you regroup and you just create the pattern. This is the same type of physical action that I'm talking about with a neural action. When it comes to the energy of thought, we then learn to witness that first thought, realize we're having a reaction, and then choose to not re-react and to have methods that we can tame the mind with. That's why I call myself a mind tamer, and I teach all of you to be mind tamers in training, because there are tools. This is what mantras, positive affirmations, and prayers do. To me, they are all the same thing. They are phrases, words that we use that is the way to give the monkey mind. It was Swami Vivekananda who said the mind is like a drunk monkey that has been stung by a scorpion. If you want to tame the monkey and pacify it, give it a banana. The banana in this scenario is a mantra, a prayer, or an affirmation. Now, there are ways to create stronger affirmations. And if your belief system is strong and you have a lot of devotion, your prayers are strong. That may not be your style. Maybe you don't want to speak in a foreign language and use a foreign mantra. We can create mantra like affirmations in English. They must have immediacy. They must be in the present moment. They must use the sense of the big I, the witness. So, and they must continue on. So if we want to create that new neural pathway, our affirmation phrase must have the big I. It must have the present moment. It must talk about the omnipresence of it, and it must have it going into infinity. That is the way to use words to train the mind in this way.
It was actually the technique that I unknowingly used. I started the practice about 6 years ago. I built a journaling practice around it, and I created a vision of my future self. I wrote down 5 affirmations about that future self, and then I tied them to my why. So I have these 5 personal statements. I call them my why formations. And I write those same 5 why formations out every day as part of my journaling practice. And they have completely transformed my life.
I'd love to know one of your why formations. Can you give an example?
Yeah, the first one I write is I have a strong and healthy body and I am living a long, fulfilling life.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah. So I have 5 of those. And they just guide me on who I am. They affirm. And it also helps me in we don't live perfect lives. I may not have done my yoga yesterday, but while I'm writing out my why formations, I'm going to remember, yes, but I ate really well yesterday. I had my green smoothie, I took my vitamins, I drank my water, I did all of those things, I got sunshine.
Hmm.
So they guide me in different ways, and they also help me in making decisions, because it's, if it's my sort of true self, I can decide, well, is that going to bring me closer or further away from my authentic self?
May I offer a tweak?
Absolutely.
I love your affirmation. I think it's excellent. The only thing I would change is I have to I am.
Well, that one, see, and some of them I did change over time to I have.
Mhm.
That one, why would you change it to I? How is I am different than I have?
Because
Because
the I am is one of the most powerful phrases. It's also used in many of the world's religions. It is considered a power phrase in the ancient
okay,
practices. And I'll share mine. Want to know
okay, yeah,
my
please do.
my Lucy version of Y formations? And what I do, everybody, is I have them pop up on my calendar and my phone every single
Okay,
day. So they
interesting.
come to my email, they come to my phone. When I see them, I say them out loud, because using your voice, everybody, we use the element of air, which is the heart chakra element. We use space. Space is the element of the throat chakra. And when we use sound, we're putting heart and air and space together. Air is the carrier, and space is omnipresent. It does not decompose. That actually is the fourth element of water, plasma. This is what we're still trying to figure out in theoretical science, still theory. So we bring thought up out the mouth, and then magically it goes back in our own ears. This is how we build neural pathways. So writing is great. Look, I'm a writer. I have journals all over the place. I have different journals for different things. But when it comes to affirming and using power phrases, then I say them out loud. So when they pop up on my calendar, and they are, I am great health, because I feel health is the number one thing. If we want longevity and we want to keep going, then I think health is where we need to begin. And when I'm counseling and coaching clients who maybe come to me for business coaching and they're stressed out, the rule I give them is health first, then family, then career and work. So that's the order of priority. And priority is important
It
when
is.
we're looking at this. So mine in the morning are, I am great health, I am prosperity, I am creativity, and I am goodness. Now I'm thinking what, and I also use the power phrase from Emile Quay, who was a psychologist in the late 1800s. I do have an article about this on my blog, everybody. You're welcome to go read it. It's which is better, affirmation, prayer, mantra. I've already explained, they're all the same. But you'll learn all about Emile Quay in this article, and also this philosophy of where I got to this point. His affirmation uses the I am, the immediacy, and the infinity. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And I add, by your grace, God, because I do believe in an omnipresence, and I have no issue with the G word. If you want to say omnipresence or nature or whatever, as long as it's your belief, because if we supercharge it with our feelings and we use our voice, then we're making power with it. So I challenge you, Lucy. What's going to happen if you try? Just try for a week. Tell me if it changes.
I will definitely give that a try. Now, as we wrap up today, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Oh, be loving and forgiving to yourself. We're human beings, and we are here having a human experience, but we are truly spiritual beings who won this lifetime as if in a lottery. So when we get down on ourselves or angry or frustrated, it's important for us to remember this is all a gift. And I know at those times, it's not always the easiest thing to do. Give yourself a timeout. Give yourself time to back up and witness what the thoughts and feelings are. Put your hands on your heart if you can. Put your hands on your throat if you can. Put your hands on your face, cover your eyes, touch your eyelids with your fingertips, and feel the curve of your warm palms under your chin. And feel the support and love, because that is the omnipresence. That is the great love of the universe. And you are here because you deserve it. So, yes, we have challenges, and it's okay to reach out and ask for help. And it's okay to give yourself a timeout, but bring it back to self-love. That's what the topic of my newest book is all about. Cupid is a Bastard. And I know it's a funny name for a book, but it's about love of all sorts and grief and loss. And yes, we all go through it. And what I want you to just try and make one little tiny step forward on is bringing it back to self-love, because we can only feel and experience the height and love from others and the joy from all things that matches the height and level of love that we have for ourselves.
Yes, I agree 100%. Now, you also wanted to mention a seminar that you have coming up.
Yes, I have a seminar that is going to be on Zoom, everybody. So you're welcome to come and join. It's up on Eventbrite, and it's on my social media, and it's getting on my blog today. It's the 4 keys to a healthy diet. Now, diet is not just what we take into our mouths, but I am focusing on this because I taught holistic health at the university level for 21 years. And I want to share some of the keys of how I still look like this and have the strength I have facing my 64th birthday in just a few short weeks. So, I mean, just a couple days ago, I was at a shop buying some sage because I love sage tea. And the topic of age came up. And I said I was going to be 64 next month in October. And the instant exclamation was, "Oh, you look 40." So, yay, thank you. So I want to share some of these ideas from the 3 pillars of health, which is lifestyle, diet, and sleep.
Perfect. Now, to connect with Ambika, please check out our show notes. I will have all of the links in there. And my goal for the roller coaster of midlife is to empower women like you to thrive in this amazing chapter of our lives. So go on and embrace the adventure and start rocking midlife like the badass that you know that you are. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend, because our greatest power is in community. And don't forget to visit my website, therollercoasterpodcast.com, and click on Start Here to get your free audio course, 3 steps to go from hot mess to badass and start rocking midlife. Thank you to my listeners for choosing to join us. And Ambika, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
And until next time, keep riding the roller coaster and embracing the midlife adventure.